Howdy y'all, welcome back to Eye of the Beholder, where we review Dungeon & Dragon miniatures produced by WOTC and WizKids over a 20-year time span between 2003 through 2023. After a long weekend getting my ass handed to me at the Pie Gow tables in Sin City, we are back with our next installment of Monstrous Humanoids. With this video, we'll be reviewing one of the more fascinating races, the Gith. Featured on the cover of the iconic first edition Fiend Folio, the Gith were slaves of the Mind Flayers for millennia before gaining their freedom after a long and very bloody uprising. Of course, being the cruel, arrogant, lawful evil creatures they are, they immediately began a civil war amongst themselves once they gained independence, eventually splitting off into two factions after another long and very bloody campaign. Fun fact, Gith are natural scions. The more militaristic of the factions are the Githyanki. Raiding and pillaging across the prime material plane, they are cunning and resourceful warriors who follow a strict military chain of command. Githyanki who achieve the title of Knight are rewarded with the legendary Githyanki Silver Sword, which damages the mind as well as the body. Any Githyanki who loses said sword suffers unimaginable humiliation, and all other Githyanki will relentlessly pursue any outsider wielding one.
We get our first Githyanki miniature in WOTC's third set, 2004's Archfiends. Called a Githyanki warrior, he stands in profile, legs spread wide with his left leg bent and left foot on a rock, perhaps to gain leverage for a leap into battle. Dressed mostly in browns with none of the gaudy jewelry Githyanki are known for, he also wields a plain sword as he has not yet reached the status to wield a silver one. Score: Paint 11. Pose 14, Playability 13, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 51. It's not entirely unknown for an individual Githyanki to become disillusioned with their society and strike out on their own. Also from 2004, we get this Githyanki Renegade Mini from the Giants of Legend set. Standing tall in his brown leathers and metallic padrones, he is also well armed with a long sword in his right hand and a long bow strapped to his back. It's a solid mini, but I would like to see a little better facial detailing, especially for a rare. Score: Paint 13, Pose 15, Playability 15, Pizzazz 14, for a score of 57. Sometime over the millennia, Githyanki developed a close relationship with red dragons, to the point that the beasts will sometimes act as mounts for Githyanki knights, hence this Githyanki Dragon Knight mini from 2006's Blood War set. It's no doubt a cool mini, but proportionately off. The smaller dragons were kind of irregular in the early days of WOTC, but the small size of the dragon also translates to the rider, who is much smaller than a standing Githyanki. See? I do like the red-black coloring of the dragon, and it's just too cool not to use if given the opportunity. So score is Paint 18, Pose 13, Playability 16, Pizzazz 23, for a score of 70. We get a bit more color out of our next mini, this Githyanki warrior from 2009's Monster Manual Dangerous Delve set. We get much more implied movement with this mini than the previous ones, with the swirling motion of his hair and twin tails streaming off the back of his loincloth. We get a lot of leather straps across the body as well, some to hold the golden placard and single greaves, others just for show. Caught mid-swing, he holds his not yet silver sword high above his head in preparation to strike. Score: Paint 15, Pose 15, Playability 13, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 58. The next level of Githyanki above Knight is Gish, who hone their psionic abilities to a razor's edge. They are the spies and assassins of the Gith, striking from the shadows. We get this Githyanki Gish later in 2009 in the Monster Manual Dangerous Delve set. Looking almost Gith-Zerai-like, in his red robes trimmed with gold, his Githyanki bona fides are shown in the armored legs and sheathed sword on his belt. I really like the look of this one, posed with arms spread wide and legs set in a sturdy position as he prepares a psionic attack. Score: Paint 17, Pose 16, Playability 14, Pizzazz 17, for a score of 64. Also from the Savage Encounter set, we get this Githyanki Mind Slicer, who is our first female Githyanki. Based on her name, we can assume she specializes in attacking the enemy's mind via psionics. The scope confirms this. Although armed with the legendary Githyanki Silver Sword, she is posed with hand raised and finger on her temple as she concentrates on a mental attack. Fully armored in a steel breastplate and chain skirt that stretches to her feet, she is probably at least a Gish and maybe even a Kithrak, leading a company of 100 Githyanki raiders. Score: Paint 17, Pose 20, Playability 18, Pizzazz 22, for a score of 77. Our final WOTC Githyanki is a named NPC, Kalaroth, Githyanki Pirate, a rare mini from 2010's Lords of Madness set. As an aside, damn it, WOTC, did you really need to make nearly every Githyanki a rare? It made it really hard to build a Githyanki raiding party. Rant aside, this one is pretty cool. Posed on one leg, but cleverly mounted sturdily on its base by the flowing red tunic, he fights dervish-like with two silver swords, whirling through his enemies as he cuts them down like cornstalks. Wait a minute, I just noticed. This one is a chick as well. Note the breastplate. That makes it even cooler. I'm looking for flaws, but I can't really see any, so score is 100. We get our second Githyanki warrior and our first WizKids Githyanki in 2016's Monster Menagerie set, and kudos to WizKids for getting the sallow yellow of his skin correct. Bare-chested with just a bit of armor on his off shoulder, he stands sword in hand, tip raised in either attack or parry position. Tight black trousers and a metal belt/codpiece complete the look. Nice touch on the open-toe boots, exposing the yellow tootsies. Score: Paint 14, Pose 13, Playability 13, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 53. Githyanki Supreme Commanders are exactly that. Supreme Lords of all they survey, leaders of Githyanki cities and armies, and second only to their Lich Queen, Valkith, whose mini we reviewed as part of our Undead series. This mini, from 2019's Volo and Mordenkainen's Foes set, definitely looks the part, in intricately detailed full plate armor, brown full fur cloak, and an absolutely glorious mane of silver gray hair. It also has by far the best facial detailing we've seen, set in a stern countenance as it reviews the battlefield. Posed with silver sword lowered but ready, a true commander. Score: Paint 23, Pose 20, Playability 18, Pizzazz 25, for a score of 86.
The Gith-Zerai went with a more aesthetic lifestyle. Eschewing the gaudy armor of their Githyanki brothers for simple robes, they often trained as monks and adopt martial combat, or as wizards who blend magic and psionics to deadly effect. They are not as warlike as their cousins, preferring a live and let live within their fortified cities scattered through Limbo and the Underdark. They will, however, rally to attack any Illithid enclaves they find.
Like our first Githyanki, we get our first Gith-Zerai in 2004's Archfiend set as well. He holds a short sword in his left hand almost as an afterthought, as he is clearly in the process of using his psionic abilities, right hand raised, fists clenched, and a look of concentration on his face. Clad in a black hooded cloak over a tan tunic, he looks like he could easily fade into the shadows after his attack has hit home. Score: Paint 16, Pose 17, Playability 14, Pizzazz 16, for a score of 63. A year later, we get this Gith Zerai monk in the Underdark set of 2005. They are the lowest in the Gith Zerai caste system, but are still formidable, particularly in unarmed combat, which this pose suggests he is currently engaged in. Left fist cocked while striking with his right, pose lunging forward to maximize the strength of the blow. Nice touch with the long top knot trailing behind him. Clad in monk's robes of various browns, its commonality also enhances playability. Score: Paint 13, Pose 14, Playability 17, Pizzazz 12, for a score of 56. Next in the Gith Zerai hierarchy is the Gith Zerai Zerth, especially adept monks capable of remarkable psionic feats. This one comes from the Monster Manual Dangerous Delve set, and he appears to be standing outside on a windy day, as evidenced by the blowback from his dark brown cloak and tan tunic, which he wears over gray trousers. This is a very nicely detailed miniature, particularly the facial features, but a bit too passive for my taste. Score: Paint 19, Pose 12, Playability 19, Pizzazz 14, for a score of 64. Not sure what a Gith Zerai Cenobite is, but we get one in the Monster Manual Legendary Evil set. Also from 2009. Perhaps it's a subclass of Zerth? Interesting pose, squarely facing his foes, legs at shoulder width, elbows out, and fists clenched together in front of his chest. This pose projects power. Wearing the black hooded cloak and tan tunic in what must be the standard uniform for Gith Zerai, he stares out ominously from the hood, head slightly tilted downward and eyes shaded. Score: Paint 14, Pose 18, Playability 18, Pizzazz 21, for a score of 71. Also from the Legendary Evil set, we get this Gith Zerai Mind Mage. Same question as a Cenobite. Not sure where a Mind Mage falls, hierarchy-wise, so I'm going with the next level and calling it Enlightened. Based on the torso and hairstyle, this one looks female to me, as she also has a bit more fashion sense, going with a blue tunic over gray trousers and under the traditional brown cloak. Poses of casting a defensive spell with her left arm outstretched, palm up, and facing the enemy. Score: Paint 16, Pose 16, Playability 18, Pizzazz 19, for a score of 69. WizKids gives us two almost identical Gith Zerai monks in the 2016 Storm King's Thunder set. Again, WizKids does what WOTC should have by giving them the book-correct yellow skin. Identically dressed in dark brown tunic and trousers, and posed with legs apart and hands down at their sides, once again the only difference is in weaponry. The first is armed with twin daggers, while the second, while also wielding a dagger, has the beginnings of a fire-based spell conjuring in his right hand. Burning hands? Maybe fireball? Who knows? Score: Paint 14, Pose 13, Playability 15, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 55. The Gith Zerai equivalent to the Githyanki Supreme Commander is the Gith Zerai Anarch, leaders of their adamantine citadels and the psionically strongest of the Gith. So it makes certain sense that we get this Gith Zerai Anarch from the same 2019 Volo the Mordenkainen's Foes set as the Supreme Leader. Definitely female. She is clad in form-fitting blue under a gauzy violet cloak and skirts. The most obvious deal is, of course, the wall of force she is projecting to protect her from arrows. Note the cool details of the ripples in the wall where the arrows have struck. It would have been cooler if the shield could be removed, though. Interestingly, she is also posed on a piece of wood. Is that part of the floor, or is she also using telekinesis to float above the battle? Score: Paint 25, Pose 25, Playability 17, Pizzazz 25, for a score of 92.
When researching the Gith, I pulled out my old, very thumbed-through copy of the Fiend Folio, and I gotta say, there are a lot of iconic creatures in it. The Slod, the Kautoa, Hook Horrors, Grells, and my personal favorite, the Drow, along with some ridiculous ones. Terrafeg, anyone? WOTC and WizKids have given us a lot of minis from this book, but they are still missing a few. Personally, I would love it if WizKids gave us the 6 Oriental dragons from the tome. Can we still say Oriental? Don't know, don't care. Anyways, what would you like to see? Leave a choice in the comments. So with that, I'll leave you for now. Thanks as always for watching Eye of the Beholder. Please like and subscribe if you like what I do. I bid you all a sweet adieu. Knowles are next.